Thank you very much. Please be seated. We'll go on the record in the matter of State of Utah versus Martin MacNeill. He is present with his counsel. The state's attorneys are present. The jury is not with us. Were you able to find the...
Can I make a record, Judge?
Yes, go ahead.
During the lunch break, we were able to actually listen with the assistance of the media to listen to what they captured. In fairness, I had a difficult time making out much, if anything, from what they captured. So what I think was captured by the TV cameras and the audio system may not totally reflect what was played here in the area of the well of the court. With that said, I think we have found the story that was played. We obviously don't know how long it was played. It does mention, it's sort of an introduction, sort of a summary that Dr. Martin MacNeill is on trial. He's charged with the murder of his wife. Later, a few seconds into it, I don't know how many seconds into it, there was mention of a bathtub. So that certainly could have come out. I didn't hear it. I think it was probably due to Your Honor's voice speaking over what was being recorded, and we were frantically trying to shut it down as well.
Can you play it on the record? Let's just play the first. Are you okay with the first 30 seconds? Do you think that that would accurately reflect what was played?
I'm confident it was not 30 seconds long.
So am I.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was probably more 10 12 seconds.
Okay, let's for the record, let's just play the first 30 seconds. And can someone time that for me? Anyone have a... Okay.
See if we can put anyone in the
A doctor accused of killing his wife, who was found dead in her bathtub. The jury heard critical testimony from his adult daughter, who believes her father is guilty, and the defense grilled her. Tough cross-examination. ABC's Aditi Roy has more.
One day after testifying against...
I'm confident that was, I don't even think it went that far. But
Do you agree?
I do. I don't believe it got to the adult daughter part. Okay, if it did, that was it.
Okay, very good. Do you wish to be heard any further on your motion, or do you submit from the state anything further?
Your Honor, I would just say that certainly this was done inadvertently. It wasn't a mistake. I think the court took immediate action in directing us to shut it down, speaking over what was being played in the story. I think the court also took, action, the correct action in giving a curative instruction at the end of the testimony of Mr. Poirier. And there's certainly nothing new that the jury might have heard with respect to this case, and so I don't think any showing of prejudice could be made here.
Thank you. From the defense, anything further?
Nothing further.
I believe that an accurate record has been made as to the event itself. Mr. Poirier was on the stand during cross-examination. The media coverage was inadvertently played into the record from a computer behind the prosecution's table. That report has now been entered into the record. It consists of an introduction that the defendant, Martin MacNeill, is on trial for the murder of his wife. There is reference to Michele MacNeill having been found in a bathtub, and the report goes on to reference cross-examination of Alexis MacNeill and states that she believes that the defendant is guilty. Even if the jury were to have heard all of that report as recorded, it would have presented no new information to them. The jury already knows that the defendant is on trial for the murder of his wife, Michele MacNeill, that Michele MacNeill was discovered in a bathtub, that Alexis MacNeill testified and was subjected to rigorous cross-examination, and that Alexis believes that the defendant committed the charged offense. it's not my view that the jury heard any, if really any of the details. As soon as it began to play, again, I raised my voice in an effort to drown out what was happening, and the computer was shut down. I doubt that the jury heard any more than 10 to 15 seconds. I don't believe that the report got to the point of addressing Alexis MacNeill's testimony and cross-examination. In addition, the court gave a curative instruction detailing for the jury what constituted evidence, that the media report does not constitute evidence, and I ordered that they not consider it in any way. And I have every reason to believe that the jury will follow that instruction. For those reasons, the court denies the defendant's motion for mistrial. I agree with the state that no prejudice has been shown. To avoid this issue in the future, you've indicated to staff that they're not to stream any kind of media coverage during the course of the trial. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Very good. Are you ready to go?
We are.
Okay.
Your Honor, in light of the record that was made at the bench with Mr. Spencer and I with respect to the inmates this morning, is there a need for us to approach on the identity of this?
So.
Okay.
I don't think so. If we can just reference him as by inmate number.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. We're on the record in the matter of State of Utah versus Martin MacNeill. Mr. MacNeill is present with his counsel. The state's attorneys are present. The jury is now seated. The state may call its next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls inmate number 1.
Sir, would you stand in the witness stand? Please raise your right hand as best you can and be sworn.
You do promise, sir, that testimony you shall give in the case now pending or is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you. If you'll be seated there and respond to counsel's questions.
Good morning, sir, or excuse me, good afternoon. Just for your information, for our purposes today in court, we're going to be referring to you as inmate number 1. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. Will you give us your age?
I'm 38.
38 years old. You're wearing a jumpsuit.
Yes.
And you're shackled.
Yes.
Are you currently incarcerated?
Yes.
And where are you incarcerated, sir?
Federal prison, Beaumont, Texas.
In Beaumont, Texas. You're being held at the Utah County Jail presently?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been incarcerated?
Since 2007.
2007. At some point, were you in Texarkana?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately when that was?
June or July of 2010 until March of 2011.
Okay. And when I say Texarkana, I mean Texarkana Federal Correction Institute.
Yes.
Okay, so that was a prison.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you expect to be incarcerated?
Until January of 2016.
Okay. So approximately 9 to 10 years.
Yes, sir.
You committed an offense to place yourself in federal prison.
Yes, sir.
And what was that offense or
It
offenses?
was possession of cocaine base with the intent to distribute and possession of a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime.
Okay. And is that a felony?
Yes, it is.
Do you have any other felonies on your record?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know Martin MacNeill?
Yes, sir.
Do you see Mr. MacNeill in the court today?
Yes, sir.
And where is he seated?
It's right there.
Is he wearing a light blue colored tie?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where did you get to know Mr. MacNeill?
At Texarkana.
At the prison in
Yes, sir.
Texarkana? And for how long did you know Mr. MacNeill?
Approximately, probably about 6 months.
Okay. Can you describe how you met Martin MacNeill?
We were in the same class, and he sat a couple of chairs over from me.
What kind of class was that?
It was a A+ computer class.
Okay. Do you recall how often you went to that class and how long it was?
Every day from 7:30 until 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. So you attended that class with him.
Yeah.
Where were you housed in Texarkana?
In C unit.
C unit. Do you by chance know where Martin MacNeill was housed?
I think he was in G unit.
Okay.
On the other, it was on the other end. I'm not sure if it was G or one of the other, but I think it was G unit.
Okay. So you weren't cellmates with Mr.
No.
MacNeill? Okay. How often would you say, you mentioned you saw him every day for some
Yes.
time? How long were you taking that class? Do you remember?
Until December
Of what year?
of 2010.
2010. Was the defendant in that class with you the entire time?
I think he graduated a little bit before December.
You would talk in class?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get to know him outside of class?
Yes, I would see him outside every now and then.
And when you say every now and then, let's talk about maybe how often and where you would see him.
Just in passing in general, in the lunch area and maybe outside.
Okay. Did you ever recreate with him?
Somewhat.
And when I use that word, how do you
Maybe walk outside or
walk
something.
outside?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that for exercise purpose?
Yes.
Okay. How often would you do that, do you believe?
Not that often, no.
Okay. How would you describe your relationship with Martin MacNeill? Were you friends or merely acquaintances, or?
I'd say acquaintances, maybe friends. I'd speak to him when I saw him. He'd speak to me when he saw me.
Did you get along with him?
Yes.
Okay. Did he have a nickname when he was in prison?
We pretty much called him Doc
And why was that?
because he was known as to be a doctor.
Okay. Did he ever provide you with any medical advice or?
One time my foot was bothering me, and he kind of, gave me advice on what was wrong with it.
Okay. Did you at any point have any conversations with Mr. MacNeill about his wife
Yes.
and about the passing of his wife?
Yes.
Can you describe sort of how that came up?
Okay, I was in my housing unit one night. I was probably studying.
And this was in
And-
the C unit?
Yes, in C unit.
Okay.
And someone came to me and was like, come look at the TV real quick. So I came to the television area, and they said, do you recognize that guy on there? Is he in your computer class? And I said, yeah, that's Doc.
Okay. Let me ask you about that a little bit. Are these big screen TVs? How do you watch TV in the facility?
They have several TVs in a room, and you have to have your radio to hear the TVs.
When you say radio, what does that amount to?
Your headphones and your Walkman.
Okay. When you went into that area at the request of someone else, did you have your radio with you?
No.
Okay. What did you see?
I saw a picture of Mr. MacNeill, and I guess it was his wife.
Okay. Do you recall what the program was?
It was Nancy Grace.
Nancy Grace. Okay. Do you recall how long you were watching that?
I just saw it for a second. Once I saw that it was him, and I told the guys, I said, yeah, that's him, I went back to my living quarters.
Okay. Did you have any conversations with Doc or Mr. MacNeill about what you saw and what you were told?
Yes.
And when was that in relationship to seeing him on the TV screen?
It was the next morning at breakfast.
At breakfast? Okay. Can you tell us about that?
I saw him coming through the breakfast line, and I was through. I was getting ready to go on to class, and I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, Doc," I said, "Did you see TV last night?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Well, they had you on TV." And he said, "Well, about what?" He said, "I had no idea." And I said, "It was something about you may have killed your wife." And he said, "Don't say anything to anybody. I'll talk to you later about it." And we spoke later on outside.
Okay. And when you say later on outside, where was it outside that you talked?
It was in between the recreation yard and or you go to education. It's like a square out there.
Okay. Are you certain that this was in the breakfast line, or maybe did you speak to him at class?
No, it wasn't in class. It was in
Okay.
breakfast when I spoke with him.
Okay. Did you in fact speak with him out in the rec yard then?
Yes.
Okay. Did he tell you anything more about the death of his wife?
At that point, he didn't. He just said that, he said, they're just doing that because my girlfriend is about to get out.
Okay. When he referenced his girlfriend, was that was an individual different from his wife?
Yes.
Okay. Did he ever tell you his girlfriend's name?
I think her name is Gypsy. I'm not sure what her last name was.
Okay. And you indicated that she was inside and about to get out?
Yes.
And what did you take that to mean?
She was also incarcerated.
Okay. Did you have any idea when she was going to be released?
No.
Okay. On that day, when you first talked in the rec yard, did he say anything else about the death of his wife?
No.
Okay. At some point later, did he talk to you again about that?
Yes.
Can you describe how that happened?
Yeah, it came on again, and it was a few weeks later that it came on, and I said, "Hey, Doc, did you catch it this time?" And he said, "No." And that's when he said, I want to get it right. He said, "They can't prove anything, so I don't know why they keep running it on TV."
Speaking about his wife's death.
Yes.
Did you have any more conversations about his wife's death?
Yes.
Was it that day that you talked more?
No, it was later on.
Okay. Tell us about that.
One time I had saw him outside, and we just began to talk about it, and he, I want to be clear on what I'm saying. I want to make sure I'm saying it correct. He, we talked, and he just pretty much opened up about it.
Okay.
And he said that he gave her some Oxy, and he had gave her some sleeping pills, some kind of sleeping pills. Okay. I can't remember, but the reason we had talked about, he said the Oxy because we had talked about Oxys in class because I had been prescribed those before. And, you know, I told him about an accident I had, and we talked about the Oxy. But anyway, he said he gave her some Oxy and some sleeping pills, and then got her to get in the bathtub.
Did he say what he did next?
Later on, he just said he had to help her out. And I asked him what that was, and he said he held her head under the water for a little while.
Did he use the phrase, help her out?
Yes.
Okay. Did he ever describe, or did you ever ask him about why he killed his wife?
He said that she was in the way, that she wanted the house and the kids.
Did he ever speak to you about his wife having undergone plastic surgery at all?
Yes, he said she had some kind of surgery, and that's why she was getting the medication.
Okay. Did he ever talk to you about his feelings with respect to whether or not authorities could prove his involvement?
Yeah, he said they couldn't prove that he, did anything.
Did you, you mentioned twice seeing a little bit of something on TV.
Mm-hmm.
The first time you indicated you didn't have your radio and just basically saw Doc's picture.
Mm-hmm.
The second time, what did you see?
Somebody just told me that it was on. I didn't see it.
You didn't see
I
it?
just asked him, did he see it? Because I heard that it was on again. I didn't see it though.
Okay. After that, or before that for that matter, did you see any other media like TV about Martin MacNeill?
No. Afterwards, a few weeks ago, I just saw his, face on the TV for a second, but they don't watch the programs that are the channel that he was on or whatever, so I just saw it in passing when they were turning the channel.
This was in Beaumont, Texas?
Yes.
Okay. What about, have you read anything with respect to Martin MacNeill?
No, they haven't seen any newspapers or magazines or anything.
Okay. Have you talked to anyone about his case, any other inmates that informed you,
No.
other than being asked to come see if this was the guy in your computer class?
No, that's it.
Were there rumors in prison that people would talk about a little bit?
Not really. Not to my knowledge,
Okay. Did you ever see Martin MacNeill exercising, anything like that?
Yes, he would work out. He was on the weight pile sometimes.
Okay. You mentioned that you walked with him.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have any difficulty walking?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Did he ever walk with a limp that you saw?
I didn't see it.
What about use a cane?
No.
Okay. Did you actually observe him lifting weights?
Yes.
What kind of weights, what kind of exercises would he do?
I'm not real sure. I would just see him, over under the weight pile. I never stopped over or anything.
Okay. You mentioned that Doc had a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware whether or not he would write his girlfriend?
Yes, he would write her in class quite often.
Did you ever see some of these letters?
I mean, I didn't read any of them, but I see him with them.
Okay. Did he ever talk about how he would write his girlfriend?
I mean, he would write her there in class,
Okay. When did you become aware of Doc's arrest for the murder of his wife?
It was probably in April of this year.
Okay. Can you describe the circumstances of that, where you were and kind of what happened?
I was in Beaumont, and an inmate came that was at Texarkana with us, came there, and he was telling me that Doc had gotten out and, asked me if I knew anything on him. I said, no, and he said, well, he got arrested for the murder of his wife. And I said, really?
You remember the name of this inmate?
I just remember his name was Bruce.
Bruce?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know Bruce from before?
Yes. I don't know his last name, though.
Okay. How did you know Bruce from before?
If I'm not mistaken, he was in the class with us for a little while.
Okay. So Bruce informed you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what happened? What'd you do next?
I talked to my family and my counselor about it, and just asked their advice on whether I should come forth with the information that I knew or not. And, based on that, I made a decision to get in touch with you all.
And how did you go about getting in touch with authorities?
I got my family to do it for me.
Okay. Any individual in particular?
My niece.
Your niece, and what's your niece's first name?
Raven.
Raven?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Were you ultimately interviewed by authorities on this case?
By interview, you mean I spoke over the phone, yes.
Over the phone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you remember about how long that was after you met Bruce, or Bruce told you about this?
Probably about 2 weeks at the most.
Okay.
It may have been a little sooner.
Okay. You mentioned that you found out about this in Beaumont.
Mm-hmm.
Were you at some point in Louisiana?
Oh, I'm sorry. I found out about it in Louisiana, not Beaumont. I got transferred to Beaumont after that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I did say that.
So, do you recall when you were in Texarkana for a while?
Yes.
Texarkana.
Yes.
Do you remember where you were transferred after that?
California.
California.
Yes.
At some point, you got to Louisiana
Yes. Then I went to Louisiana.
after
And-
California.
Yes.
And where was that in Louisiana?
Oakdale.
Oakdale, Louisiana. Is that where you Is that where Bruce was?
Yes, that's where Bruce was transferred to, and we were in the same unit.
Okay. After Oakdale in Louisiana, you were transferred to Beaumont.
Yes,
How come?
because Bruce was,
Would you like to approach or not?
I'll withdraw the question for right now, Your Honor.
Questions withdrawn.
Your Honor, I'll pass the witness for now.
Thank you. You may cross.
Good afternoon. May I approach?
You may.
What's that?
Go ahead. Yeah.
What's been presented to the defense is plaintiff's notice of benefits offered or provided to jailhouse informants.
mm-hmm,
And then there's a section here titled Inmate Number 1.
mm-hmm,
And you understand that we're referring to you in these proceedings. as
Yes.
Inmate Number 1, right? And this document, it indicates that inmate number 1's professed motivation for disclosing defendant's statements to police was, I don't want it to happen to his girlfriend, because if he did it once, he'll do it again.
mm-hmm.
Is that an accurate statement of
Yes.
what your motivations were?
Yes, part of it.
What other motivations did you have?
Because if it happened to one of my family members, I would want someone to come forth too.
All right. Anything else?
No. I mean, it's just part of my rehabilitation is getting ready to come back into society. I want to be a changed person.
Mm-hmm.
I made some wrong decisions, and I'm just trying to do right.
Okay. And then it goes on and says that the state of Utah has no authority over federal inmates and have nothing to offer inmate number 1 in exchange for his cooperation in the investigation and his testimony at trial. There is no agreement to exchange inmate number 1's testimony for consideration from the state of Utah. Nothing has been given him, and there are no promises outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true and correct?
That's true.
It says, if inmate number 1 were to request a recommendation from Investigator Robinson or the prosecution, that request would be honored.
Mm-hmm.
And to date, however, he has not made any request for any consideration.
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
So this disclosure here is completely accurate.
Yes.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm showing you an email dated May 9th of 2013. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And in that email, this is an email that you sent to your niece, Raven.
Mm-hmm.
And in this email, you say, hey, one of the guys that I met while I was in Texarkana came here yesterday and is in my unit.
Mm-hmm.
We got to talking, and he mentioned Dr. Neal, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the one that was in my computer class that was on Nancy Grace?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he said that Doc got out and was out for 2 months, and then they came and got him for the murder of his wife. Well, I know he did it because he told me about everything one day after I told him I saw it on Nancy Grace. That's what you said,
Mm-hmm.
right? You said we went outside and walked the track, and he told me, anyway, if his case is not over, I could testify and tell them what I know and come home.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
And so in your email to Raven, you were telling her that if you testify against him, you could come home.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what you believed, right?
Mm-hmm. At that time.
And then later on at the bottom as well, you indicate that this might get me home,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's true.
So in fact, you did have other motivations in relation to,
I mean, possibly. At that time, I didn't know, and I figured maybe, you know, doing the same thing, you know, I've already had made up my mind I was going to do it anyway. That's when I was talking to them. I said, well, if, you know, everything works out, it might work out to my benefit.
okay. But you didn't really think that it would?
I didn't know. I didn't know at the time.
And whether it did or not, you were still determined to do
Mm-hmm.
it? Because you thought it was the right thing to do?
Yes.
And you then subsequently, as you testified, had an interview with Investigator Robinson a couple weeks later?
Yes.
On May 29th of 2013,
Mm-hmm.
is that right? And in that interview, you endeavored to be truthful in what you relayed,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that interview, may I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Can you reach your hands up to be able to turn pages?
Yes.